Are the supporters of Ordinals making history? Is this innovation? Or are we just having the most secured chain in the world be spammed with absolute nonsense? Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. If you were on Twitter in the last couple of days, you know that the main conversation is quote unquote ordinals and inscriptions. Okay, so we did a previous video on this. We're gonna link it in this, in this video. It'll probably show up as a bookmark, but no matter what, I'll stick it in the description as well. And we may as well make an ordinals playlist because I feel like we're gonna be talking about this crap for, I mean, this innovation for a long time, unfortunately. Anyways, let's dive into this article talking about the 4 meg block that was mined. Let's take a look at this and let's take a look at some of the results. Right there are some people who say there is a valid use case for putting this type of data in the most secure network in the world. Yeah, as you can hear from my tone, I'm not one of those people. Anyways, here we go. Uncovering Bitcoin's largest block mined and the impact of NFTs. On February 1st, 2023, the Bitcoin network made history with the mining of the largest block ever recorded. The block, which contained nearly 4 million transactions, was sent out by an indie developer using the NFT project Taproot Wizards. Despite the developer and project remaining unnamed, the transaction has caused a stir in the Bitcoin community. Some call it an attack on the Bitcoin network, which we're going to discuss at the end of this. Still, the developer, Udi, and former Bitcoin core developer, Casey Rodarmer, argue that the transaction is an innovation based on the concept of ordinals. And you know what? Just before we go on, I'm just going to flat out say, yeah, if Udi supports it, I immediately question its validity. Udi shilled Luna. Okay. Udi also said that Bitcoiners shouldn't have their own keys and that they're more secure leaving their Bitcoin on exchanges. Udi's had nothing but absolutely horrendous takes in the last, I mean, for me, it's been like the last 4 years. He started off as like a very entertaining type of troll and just, I don't know what happened, just became this utter bitter shitcoiner. And so right away, I see his endorsement and I know this is already going to be a piece of crap. I apologize for making that assumption, but I can't help it because based on his track record, he doesn't seem to be about the freedom money. He seems to be about the shitcoining and the stupidity. Of course, right? Udi's ready to take some credit for something he didn't do. Last night we made history. No, you didn't. You didn't do shit. Okay, you didn't do anything at all. Sticking a bunch of JPEGs in the blockchain is not fucking making history. Okay, people already did this a few years ago with Counterparty. No one cared. No one cared. It died, and that's most likely where this is going to. But anyways, let's continue on here. Running NFTs on Bitcoin, and just note, ordinals are not NFTs. It is not the same thing. They're essentially the narrative is being created that they're like NFTs. And it's ordered to make it more relatable, but it is really not the same type of thing. So anyways, let's continue on. Ordinals were introduced as a solution to the issue of Bitcoin's lack of a stable public identity. Just that alone, I'm going to say this article was written by a horrible shitcoiner. What are you talking about? Stable public identity? It's a censorship-resistant ledger. It already has a fucking identity. Doesn't need your fucking JPEGs. Doesn't need your bullshit. Anyways, Bitcoin addresses are typically single use and wallet accounts are local, making ownership of public and private keys non-transferable. Ordinals aim to resolve this. That's what's happening. Ordinals are solving a problem. What was I thinking? Oh, man. Well, here we go. So they're marking each Satoshi in each output, creating a transferable account or identity for Bitcoin. That sounds like tracking. Anyways, in the NFT project, Taproot Wizards, the publisher uses a specific Satoshi to refer to a JPEG image to implement the identification and circulation of the NFT. If you're falling for this shit, I'm so sorry, but you are gonna get wrecked. This is a fleece. This is a fleece to get people to pay, essentially to get people to pay a higher number for single satoshis. Okay, so this is a grift. I can't see it as any other way. And this bullshit nonsense about a stable public identity, Bitcoin doesn't have a problem with that. This is this author that is creating that narrative in order to sell you the story of ordinals. Why they're doing this, I can't tell you. I don't know, but I just think it's disingenuous and it's crappy. The rapid expansion of the Bitcoin blockchain size as a result of the big transactions and blocks would increase the requirements for devices running a full node. It could also reduce the network's anti-censorship capabilities. Gotta tell you, I'm not 100% convinced about that last line. Reducing the network's anti-censorship capabilities. I mean, it's still individual nodes that are validating the transactions. The miners, they have their own individual incentives. Indeed, they may join a pool in order to try to create a stable flow of getting paid miner rewards, but they are not cooperating at a level that people think. So I don't know if I buy that last line about the reducing the network's anti-censorship capabilities, but again, I don't know everything and I may totally be missing some obvious vector. A difficult choice ahead. The Bitcoin community is faced with a difficult choice in addressing the issue. Doing nothing and allowing the entry of applications into the blockchain in this way could render the debate about limiting op return and expanding capacity meaningless. Hard fork the network to increase the data size limit is also problematic. It would require all nodes to be updated and result in a loss of decentralization. A partial consensus among major pools to reject big blocks and big transactions is operationally challenging and would open the door to manual block review. So here's a good tweet, and I think Bitcoin is Saving kind of hit the nail on the head on this one. Marginalized peoples in developing countries will have to pay more to run their Bitcoin nodes and send transactions because privileged, wealthy whites want to put JPEG drawings on the blockchain as status symbols. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. So here, we're going to wrap this up over here. Overall, the most likely outcome is option 1, as BTC is so large that a smooth hard fork is unlikely. The incident has brought to light the need for a solution to the limitations faced by Bitcoin. Again, like, why do they think that these are problems? This protocol was meant to do a very specific subset of things as securely and as predictable as possible. That's all it was meant to do. So they're supplanting all of these other narratives on top of it. I love this. This brings me right back to 2017. Bitcoin just isn't enough. If only we had more feature A, B, and C. And the last line of this is totally cringe. It also sparked a new wave of innovation and experimentation within the community. Okay, we're going to stop right there. Innovation. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look now. Now that this has been running for a few days, let's go take a look at some of the innovation that has come about. First, we're going to start it off with this tweet from Derek Moss. Imagine trading 160 million Satoshis for 1 Satoshi. Yes, someone just did this for a Bitcoin ordinal inscription. Imagine paying. I don't think people understand the fucking grift here. You literally just this guy gave 1.6 B, and I don't care if it's for marketing or it's just like wash trading or whatever excuse you want to give. The point is to the public perception that doesn't know any better, someone just gave 1.6 BTC for a single Satoshi because of a JPEG that's in it. That doesn't make any sense. That is completely ridiculous, and it's a huge grift. Now, let's take a look at some of the more valuable art that now exists on Bitcoin, right? Because this is innovation. Well, here's a great tweet from Maple Hodl. Totally valid, horrendous spam. Indeed, Maple, indeed. Wow. This is, don't get me wrong, but this is definitely more important than hard money. Yeah, I think we need to put more of this, more of this innovation on the Bitcoin blockchain. Okay, so look, guys, as you could see, I don't really give a shit for this stuff. I think it's been sitting in a few spaces. Do I believe that ordinals are an attack on Bitcoin? Okay, so the opportune code, we didn't actually define what type of data can really go in there. So the reality is that if we allowed that data to go in there, then this is working as designed. Now, granted, this may be a use case that wasn't thought of, but I am actually going to go and do some digging because I feel like I was told or I read that there was a massive discussion about inscriptions and ordinals about 6 to 8 months ago. So I'm going to see if I could find that and tie this, because I am sure we're going to end up doing another clip on this. This doesn't just end with this clip, unfortunately. This is going to be like FTX, guys. This is just going to be freaking luggage. All right. So every couple of shows, we're going to end up talking about this crap because unfortunately, we're going to have to debunk ridiculous narratives. Ordinals are, at this point, in my view, a social attack vector on Bitcoin, because so this is part of the discussions that a few of us have had in spaces here and there, but essentially what's going to happen is that there's going to be a battle over what types of transactions are taking up the majority of the block space. And we're kind of I think we're gonna end up seeing the narrative war between, well, hey, what do people really care about? Do people care about storing their value more? Or do they care about storing JPEGs more? Unfortunately, SegWit, then Taproot, facilitated this type of data in Bitcoin, and now we really do have to see. We really do have to see where this is going to go. I don't really see a hard fork. I don't really see a hard fork, but again, it's too early. I see some Bitcoiners calling for a fork of the calling for all these JPEGs to just go and fork off. Look, I don't know if that's going to happen either. As I did mention in the last video that I did on this, we have had these types of offerings before, like Counterparty, like BitDNS, like Omni, and I can't remember the 2 or 3 other projects. But that's kind of the point, right? They were here for a little bit. They made a lot of noise. People got really excited for a very short period of time, but then it just died on the vine. So do I think that ordinals are really here to stay? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they're here to stay, but I'll tell you this. It's just the beginning of this particular narrative war. I can see that.